The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar today. I know that we are getting closer to the holidays, so everybody wants to celebrate their Christmas and the New Year. And of course, during this festive season, we had so much of hot topics in the financial sector, especially uh, as you know, everybody is talking about Bitcoin. So let us wait a little bit so more people can join us today. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. If you can just raise hands so I make sure everybody is online with me. All right, awesome, awesome. So I think by now everybody knows that Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, virtual currencies has been the hottest topic in the financial sector. I mean, I've been in this world of finance for more than 15 years, and I cannot remember anything just making headlines like the Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. It's a very hot topic. There's so many questions on it, whether it's a bubble, whether it's the future, whether it is the next era of finance, whether bankers will get out of business, whether this is going to change our world. So there's so many questions. We'll try to answer as much as possible. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the price action, what we have been seeing recently, what we can probably see the different scenarios in the future. So this is our main agenda today. Of course, many of you have heard about Bitcoin, many of you have done the research, but we will explain a little bit more about the Bitcoin, especially for the beginners, why we can see so much of investments going into there, and why bankers aren't liking this kind of financial innovation and what could be the future of it. And of course, we will discuss some trading stuff for people who are trading currently the Bitcoin. Before we start, let me just give you a brief introduction about myself. For those who don't know me, I started in the financial sector as a dealer and the brokers, or I was working for a broker in Lebanon. This was back in 2002. Back then, we didn't have all this fancy technology. As a dealer, I used to make deals through the phone. I used to have like 5 phones in front of me. This is how I used to take the orders, especially in the FX market. And then I became an analyst. I've analyzed the different currencies, equities, fixed income, macroeconomics. Now you can see me frequently being quoted in leading financial media, the Financial Times, Market Watch, The Guardian, and so many other financial media. And I am a business and news anchor for CNBC Arabia. For those probably who speak Arabic, they can see my show, which is daily from 5:30 Dubai time to 7:30, where I cover all business and news stories, macroeconomics, finance, stock markets. This is what we do at CNBC. And I joined FXTM early 2016, and I'm so lucky to be working for FXTM, this special organization. Now, let's look at what we can see in the news. I think you cannot open now any financial website or business and news website or TV, whether it's CNBC, Bloomberg, Financial Times, Market Watch, any of these, and you don't see headlines about Bitcoins and the cryptocurrencies. These are some of the recent headlines we have seen. For example, CNBC have been quoted someone saying one of the economists or one of the big traders that Bitcoin could rise up to $100,000 or more before crashing into zero. Some others are calling Bitcoin price can reach $400,000, others $1 million. So much of speculation going on the price of the Bitcoin. Others are saying we are close to the collapse of the bubble, but we will be discussing this in the webinar today. So Bitcoin is now trading on the world's largest future exchange. So those of you who are following what's happening in the financial sector, you know by now that CME, this is the biggest exchange for futures, now has started trading Bitcoin. Before that, CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade, also started, Chicago Board of Exchange also started trading Bitcoin even before the CME 3 weeks ago. So I mean, now the most common word that is connected to the Bitcoin is it a bubble waiting to burst or is it a good investment? To be honest, we'll try to answer this question, although it is very hard to answer it because there are so many scenarios that we can see in the future. And as traders, we would like to benefit from it, whether it's going up or it's going down. And so many economists have been talking about a speculative bubble going on, such as Yellen, so many economic professors, investment bankers, that we will touch as well on in this webinar. So now, when you go to Google, our friend Google, and just try to type how to buy, and these are the kind of answers that will pop up. How to buy Bitcoin is the first answer. It's not how to buy a gold, it's not how to buy real estate, it's not how to buy stocks, it's how to buy Bitcoin. The second result, this is in my country here in the UAE. If you go to probably other regions, it could be different, but I think Bitcoin will appear, it should appear the first in your results. How to buy a Ripple, Toyota, Bitcoin in UAE because I'm based in the UAE, or Bitcoin in Dubai, Ripple, Ethereum. I mean, when you look at such kind of results, that means everybody is trying to find out how to be a part of this new innovation or this new experiment. So for those of you who are new to this financial innovation and probably are asking what a Bitcoin is, what the hell everybody is talking about. So in a very simple definition, Bitcoin is the world's first global decentralized digital programmable money. And when I say that, I think you could think of me of some of these software engineer, IT nerds, because, okay, what the hell is decentralized digital or programmable money? So we will try to make it as simple as possible for those of you who are just begin or started looking for the Bitcoin and what is it exactly. We'll try to make it as simple as possible before we dig deep into what can we see in the near future. So just think about it as money, which is not printed out. It's not a US dollar. It is not a euro. It's not a yen. It's not a gold coin. It is digital. It's just through the internet, where I can, you can, or anybody can transfer Bitcoin, this digital money, from your own account, which could be on your computer, on a tablet, or an iPhone, a Samsung, Android, iOS, whatsoever. You can transfer this money as if you were just sending an email to another person, wherever he is on this planet. It just requires internet. It is as simple as that. So when we look at Bitcoins and try to find out what is it exactly, Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person. This is what we call peer-to-peer via the net. It does not go through a bank or a clearinghouse. And this is what makes it centralized. So, I mean, it is not centralized. It doesn't require any central bank to verify this payment. It doesn't require an investment bank or any traditional bank to verify this payment. It goes directly through this transfer. And one of the most important elements is fees are even much lower than traditional transfer. And last time I was thinking about Bitcoin is when I was purchasing a house in my home country in Lebanon. I'm living in the UAE, and I had to transfer money there. And the seller told me it's either you transfer the money by today or I have to cancel this transaction because I have another buyer coming in. And I was like, what the hell can I do? If I want to transfer through a bank account, it will take me like 3 days to do this transaction. So I had to go to different exchanges trying to transfer this amount. It was around $50,000. So I had to pay around, I remember it was around $3,000 to make this transfer. So just imagine this money that I could have saved if I could have transferred it directly with minimum fees. So this is why it's very important now. It's about the fees to transfer the money, and your account, very importantly, cannot be frozen. Now, you know, regulations, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes there's a question mark on you and the bank can freeze your account. With the Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, this cannot be frozen. How does it work? It's as simple as getting an e-wallet. You can download it through the iOS, through Google's Android. You can have this e-wallet where you can get cryptocurrencies. Some are specialized for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. And these are the largest Bitcoin exchanges. We have the Bitfinex, GDAX, Bitstamp, Gemini, BTC. So there are so many, but Bitfinex now is almost the highest in a transaction volume. So these are the exchanges that you can buy from, you can sell to, if you don't have somebody directly to buy from or sell to this Bitcoin. And now what happens is, when you do this a transfer, of course, it's transferred to your account or from your account. You can have it, as you mentioned earlier, you can have it on an iPhone, on your computer, on a laptop, on a tablet, and this wallet is one of the most secure probably systems we have seen, although we can see some hackers being able to attack some exchanges, and we have seen this recently, just the past 2 days in South Korea, and this has caused the Bitcoin price to plunge. But as a system, it is very, very, very secure. It's one of the most secure systems, and this is the blockchain, which was the new innovation, and the first thing was to be implemented was the Bitcoin. So this, after I do the transaction, it goes through a network of miners. The miner role is to solve some complex mathematical equation for this transfer to go from one account to another. And after they verify this transaction, they get also rewarded by Bitcoin. And this is how miners, they do make their money. And we can see now very huge projects going into this sector, mining for Bitcoin, and it's costing a lot of money, especially when it comes to electricity. Some miners has to pay millions of dollars per month just for electricity. I know some environmental people, they don't like this because it's polluting the earth, but for many, it's like, who cares? We just want to make money from mining, of course, for Bitcoins. So this is simple. And now, I mean, it's not simple, it is a little bit complex for so many. So when the miners, they do verify this payment, it goes through what we call a ledger. This is the blockchain ledger. And everything is recorded in this ledger. Anybody can have access to it. It cannot be hacked, it cannot be changed. And this is what makes it the most secure network. And that's why as well, there are so many banks, central banks probably, even governments, they want to adopt the blockchain technology. Maybe not the Bitcoin or the Ethereum or the Litecoin or any other cryptocurrency, but they want to adopt this technology, the blockchain, which seems to be, it is changing our world, and it is one of the biggest, probably huge innovation we have seen in many years after the internet was founded. So what Bitcoin is not, and the funny thing is, I've seen some gangs trying to sell Bitcoins, a coin, a physical coin at 70 or 80% discount. And some people, some people were buying it and thinking, okay, this is the Bitcoin. Of course, not everybody has the knowledge, but this has been going on. So of course, a Bitcoin, it is not a gold coin. It doesn't have any physical shape. It is only a digital money through the exchange. It is not a stock, so don't think about it as a stock or any other form of an asset. So don't let any of these trick you guys. Now, when we look at the financial innovation, let me think about it in this way. So those of you who are born in the 80s or before, probably you remember the first time we got introduced to the internet. And the first thing, it was the email. Email was such a big thing. So if you have a lover and you want to send a letter after a fight, you need to find this friend to send her the letter. It might be complicated. She might get the letter, or she might not get the message. But now with the email, back in the late 90s, it was much easier to be able to communicate. So it started with the email, but where are we now? Now you can have an appointment with your doctor through your iPhone. You can have a proper appointment, whether you are located in Nigeria and your doctor is in the US or in India or any other part of the world. So just think about how did we have this jump from an email to this all new technology. Now you can just record live videos wherever you are in the world and being able to share it with your friends, with your families, with the media. And this is, of course, has changed our world. Imagine your life now when you are driving without the Google Maps. Many times I know the road, but I got used that I need to have the Google Maps in front of me. So, of course, Google, I cannot imagine my life without it. I have to use it every day. I don't know how many times, whether it is the Google search, Google Maps, Google whatsoever. Facebook, it has connected all the people all together. Without Facebook, I mean, life would have been so much different. And now even the revolution around the world, it is being supported by these social media, whether it is Facebook, whether it's Twitter, or any of these channels. So we can see how it started with just an email, and now look at where we are. And this is, I think, what's happening in the financial world. So we heard about the fintech, the financial technology, this kind of technology that has been created as a threat to probably to the financial systems, to the traditional banks, investment banks, and now we are seeing part of the financial technology is the blockchain itself, and probably it is creating threat to the banks. We don't know for sure now, but of course banks are trying to make their best. Some of them to adopt this technology, some of them to stop it somewhere, especially for the cryptocurrencies. We will talk about this. So those who believe in the Bitcoin as the future of currencies, they will discuss what's happening, for example, in the US dollar value as a purchasing power. So the purchasing power is how much the dollar, $1 probably can buy me now, compared to 10 years, 20 years, or 100 years ago. So back in the 1900s, until current history, we can see that the US dollar, the purchasing power of the dollar itself has depreciated by almost 97%. So imagine what could have probably $100 bought me back in the 90s and now. $1,000 probably could have bought me like a brand new car, an amazing, of course, car. If I compare it now, $1,000, I could buy probably 2 tires for my car. So the depreciation of the currency is one of the things that Bitcoin adopters or other cryptocurrencies believe, that this kind of currency cannot be depreciated by time, but the opposite, it should go up in value, and that's why they're giving it so much of a credit. Let's also imagine the financial crisis back in 2007. What happened is, after everything crashed, central banks started printing money, giving it to the economy, to the banks. So they were printing money out of thin air. There was no gold to have it for as a collateral for printing money, and they were just starting printing money. There was trillions of dollars that has been printed out of thin air. So when it comes to supply, the market was flooded with this money, and so far, yes, we are seeing some improvement back compared to 10 years ago, but we don't know what will be the complications or what will be the impact in the next probably couple of years. Other thing is to think the importance of Bitcoins when economies go in trouble. And we have seen this since the 90s, early 2000, and back probably in the World War II. It started with Germany when the mark plunged. It was worth nothing. Sometime back in the Second World War, we can look at Zimbabwe as a very good example for this. You can see this guy holding a starving billionaire. So he has billions, but he is starving, this billionaire. So of course, money can lose value. It can become nothing. And at some time in Zimbabwe, they printed a note, $100 trillion note, which even was worth nothing until they pegged their currencies, or they started using the US dollar instead. And we are seeing this in Venezuela now. So in so many countries where the currency loses value, they try to look at an alternative, and they finally found that Bitcoin can be an alternative for them. Although, if you look at Venezuela now, anybody probably dealing with the Bitcoin or mining for the Bitcoin, he can go to jail and spend a couple of years, I don't know how many years, but it could be very tough. So, also why Bitcoin probably could be important now, although we can argue this, is that it has limited supply, 21 million coins, and that's it. And no more Bitcoin will be available in circulation, and that's what makes it scarce. Of course, some others may argue as well, okay, this is the Bitcoin, but we have now so many cryptocurrencies. We have a 3,000 cryptocurrency. We have anybody can now has his own cryptocurrency. But when we look at the transactions and the volumes, we know that Bitcoin is probably by far now the most traded cryptocurrency. It creates most of the value. At one point, the market cap for Bitcoin reached above $300 billion, which was even biggest than the biggest investment bank in the USA. And this is what's giving the Bitcoin the credibility. Just compare it to like US dollar and some of the poor nations' currency. Of course, I would trust the US dollar more than the poor nation because of the government that's supporting it. This is similar to happening now. Although there's so many currencies now in circulation, we can know that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, Dash, and some other ones are trusted more, especially now the Bitcoin. And of course, we have seen this in the price most recently. Now, let's look at some of the quotes. Of course, Jamie Dimon is one of the well-known investment bankers, CEO. He's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He said that cryptocurrency is a fraud. If you're stupid enough to buy Bitcoin, you'll pay the price one day. And I can say there's so many people who agree with Jamie Dimon. They think that it is a fraud. At one time, it will disappear, and many people will lose their money, especially who started investing late. However, I don't think this is true. I think the blockchain is here to stay. The virtual currencies will also stay. Probably prices will be very volatile. It can drop significantly. It can still also go higher significantly. I'm not here to be saying whether I like Bitcoin, whether I would encourage you to invest in the Bitcoin itself. We are, as traders, trying to benefit from what's going on, and this is how we try to make money. If you were buying Bitcoin back in 2012, when the price was a couple of dollars, probably by now you could have bought your own house. Somewhere in the world, just retired, and you're very happy, and you can live for the next 50 years from the profits that you made from the Bitcoin. I don't know prices. I'm not sure what will happen, and this is what we're going to discuss for the future. Uh, but the blockchain technology is here to stay. The virtual currency is here to stay. Probably even governments will start shifting to cryptocurrencies. We have seen this also in Venezuela. They want to adopt the petro cryptocurrency, which is linked to assets in Venezuela. Other governments will follow through, and I'm sure that this is the next stage of it. Whether the Bitcoin will be able to compete with them, this would remain as a question mark. We'll try to find the different scenarios. So this is Jamie Dimon. From the other side, we have Richard Branson. He's the founder of Virgin. Everybody knows who Richard Branson is. And he said, I have invested in Bitcoin because I believe in its potential. The capacity it has to transform global payments is very exciting. It's not just Richard Branson. We have Bill Gates. We have so many big names who also invested in the Bitcoin because they believe in it. Some others think that bankers are afraid of it because it will take their business, especially the transfers, the money transfer, which create a big chunk of their business. The exchange rate as well. This is a big part of the daily business for banks, and there's so much of billions made out of this business. So probably this is a point why some bankers, they don't like cryptocurrencies. But now we can see in the news that just, I think yesterday, Goldman Sachs said he will open a trading desk for trading Bitcoin. So we can see other banks also getting involved in trading the Bitcoin. That's why we also got the approval for the CME and CBOE to be able to trade the Bitcoin futures, so it become more mainstream. Other comments we've heard is that from Peter Thiel. He is a co-founder of PayPal. Of course, Bitcoin is creating threat for PayPal, but he thinks that Bitcoin is the first digital currency that has potential to do something like change the world. So there's so many comments here and there. Economists, most of them, they don't like it. Some business innovators, they do like it. That you're gonna hear a lot about what is going on in this era. And one of the most important things that we have seen the past couple of years is that so many companies started accepting Bitcoin as a method of payment. Microsoft, Expedia, Virgin, Tenya, the Home Depot. There's so many other companies, hundreds of companies. But the thing is that probably worries me a little bit is that the growth of acceptance started slowing down. And this could probably create risks if companies will start moving back, stopping the acceptance of cryptocurrencies. This is kind of threat to the price, which has gone up more than 2,000% just from the beginning of the year. But this is a very important part that we will have to focus on. I will also get back to this, the acceptance, the adoption, the people's trust, the company's trust in this and the new currency. We will, of course, keep looking into this, and if growth didn't start for adopting the currency going up higher, probably this could be a sell sign. Now, I think one of the main problems. So, me as an analyst, I was a fundamental analyst. So, when, for example, I'm trying to value a currency, US dollar or euro or any other currency, we look at the economy, how is it performing? We do some analysis on the currency itself, the purchase power of this currency. We look at the bonds of this government, how they are traded. We look at the central bank, the GDP growth. There's so many kind of formulas that we use to be able to evaluate a currency. Same thing for bonds. We look at whether it is government bond or companies bonds. So many formulas we use to be able to come out with the what we call the intrinsic value, or this is the fair value of where the currency should be, or where the bond should be, or even the stock. There's so many valuation metrics that we use to try to find what should be the fair value or the intrinsic value of this stock. But when it comes to the Bitcoin, it is very hard. There is no valuation methods that we can use. So whatever the value is today, this is the value. I cannot say the fair value, whether it is 20,000, 50, 100, 5, or $1. I cannot say, according to fundamental valuations, this should be the price. And I think most of you guys probably they do like technical analysis more, and this is what all we can use from valuation perspective is use technical analysis, because we don't have any formulas to be able to evaluate the Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, because there's no real asset or physical asset that is backing this. So this is in terms of valuations. So whoever tells you that the value should be this, according to some analysis, I'm sorry, there's no way to know the valuation of a Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. It's just the price. This is the price today. This is where people think it should be. Is Bitcoin in a bubble? And I think this is one of the most important questions now, and it could be. Yes, of course, it could be, especially when it comes to the price movement for the past couple of years, especially in 2017, where the price jumped from below $1,000 to approximately $20,000. And the only comparable bubble that we can see is the tulip mania back in the 1600s. And this is when the tulip mania price started soaring, and it was the first hyperinflation asset class we have seen in our history. It was the tulip mania. So this bubble started for 3 years almost before it collapsed and price went close to zero after appreciating by more than 50 or 60 times in just a matter of a couple of years, where the tulip price, just a flower, could cost 1 year's salary of a normal worker to be able to buy this tulip mania. And this, we have seen the Bitcoin price moving in a similar fashion, even at a higher pace. So we've seen so many bubbles in the past: the Mississippi bubble, the South Sea bubble, the tech bubble. Probably some of you have seen it, have experienced how the bubble looks like. Back in the 1999, when the Nasdaq price soared, where there were so many companies worth nothing, prices just soared because everybody was buying into this. And we can say that we are seeing probably similar thing happening to the Bitcoin price. I'm not saying that Bitcoin is a bad long-term investment, but the price action could indicate that the bubble is going on. But the thing is, we don't know when this bubble can burst. If it is a bubble, when it can burst, nobody knows. We can find some indicators, and this is what we are going to talk about now. So the anatomy of a bubble, how bubbles are created. The first thing is the displacement. This is when new technology comes, it disrupts other technologies, and this is when we start seeing bubbles being in formation. Think about Kodak. Remember, everybody back in the 90s, we used to have cameras with films to take photos, but Kodak was not able to catch the trend in the innovation. And this is when the digital world came in and they took out the business of Kodak and Kodak went bankrupt. Think about so many digital now companies in this space. Think about the new technologies now being used. So this kind of displacement we have seen now. A new technology, the blockchain technology has come and it is a very disruptive technology to the traditional banking system. The second stage is the credit creation. So this is when we talk about the credit creation, it is using, for example, let's go back to 2004, 5, 6 in the USA when the price of houses started soaring. We all know about the subprime mortgage crisis, and this is what caused the global financial crisis. Is everybody started to refinance his house to be able to take money and make a new business or purchase another property. We have seen such kind of speculations as well in so many other parts of the world. But I think so far we are not seeing much of a credit creation because banks, they are not being accepted, they are not accepting Bitcoin as a collateral. But I can see there's so many people taking loans or credit cards to purchase the Bitcoin, although I'm against this kind of investment risk, but we can see some part of it. And then we are in this third stage of the euphoria where everybody starts talking about Bitcoin. We are seeing this at some extent. You can see the banker talking about it. If you watch my show every day, I talk about it. When you read financial media, everybody's writing about it in the streets. People are talking about it. Go to the taxi, to the waiter. I mean, everybody is talking about it. And yes, we can see some kind of euphoria going on at this stage. I'm not sure, but I think we are somewhere between the credit creation and the euphoria. And that's why I believe the bubble could expand further if it is a bubble. And then it becomes the critical stage, the financial distress. I mean, at this critical stage, everybody just want to go out. The first adopters of this technology, they start cashing out, they start selling out whatever profits they have made and get out of the market. And this is when things start crashing with the last part of the revolution. So this is the kind of an anatomy of a bubble. If we're talking about a bubble, we are somewhere between the credit creation and euphoria now. Which means if it is a bubble, the price can still go higher from current levels. And now, for everybody who wants to be a part of the Bitcoin, whether you have a Bitcoin or whether you want to invest in the Bitcoin itself, is to look at these factors. These are very important for the future of the Bitcoin, for the price of the Bitcoin, where is it heading to. So factors, we can talk about the government regulation. If governments, especially, we have to take the biggest ones, because China, we have seen regulators coming in, but still the impact was very minimal. We saw a sharp drop in price and then prices started skyrocketing. But for example, in the USA, they gave, for example, the permission for CME and CBOE to start trading Bitcoins. So it means that they are easy. But if we see another attack, especially with the central bank or the Treasury Department says, or the SEC says, no more Bitcoins, you cannot have an exchange, a Bitcoin exchange, and we have to shut down these exchanges because it's creating risk to the economy. This is when probably we might see a huge crash. Yes, nobody can stop the blockchain or the Bitcoin from being traded, but they are making it harder for people to be able to trade the Bitcoin, and this can create a huge risk, especially price-wise. I mean, I can see the worst case scenario that prices will drop by, I don't know, 60, 70, 80%, but some people will still trade the Bitcoin even if governments started making it very tight for people to be able to transact in Bitcoin. Even think about it, if government started stop the acceptance of a Bitcoin as a method of payment for companies who already adopted it. This is another risk. So I mean, these factors we have to keep a close eye on. This will have a huge impact on the cryptocurrency itself, whether it's Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. And of course, the media has a lot of influence. Sometimes I talk to my audience and I say, I don't know if we are a factor for where the price of Bitcoin is, because we have been monitoring the Bitcoin price very closely. We have been covering it on our daily shows, and this gave it more mainstream, and many people started buying this. And of course, hedge funds and asset managers, if we know what they are thinking of, probably now we can start knowing what they are thinking of, especially now we have futures exchanges. If hedge funds started attacking heavily, selling the future, selling the future contract on the exchanges of CME or CBOE, it might be a signal, a negative signal. If otherwise it's true, we see more long positions or buying positions for the Bitcoin, it could be a good signal. So we have to keep also a close eye on this. And of course, stability of the Bitcoin network itself. If we see more hacks on exchanges, this is a bad signal. If it's more stable and we see less forks going on, this could support Bitcoin price, supply and demand, and of course the wider mainstream acceptance. And this is what we spoke about, whether I'm, for example, ready to sell my house for a Bitcoin. In fact, I was in a conference in Miami a couple of weeks ago, and I met one of the very famous hedge funds over there, and we were discussing the Bitcoin technology. And he said that he's selling his house in Miami for $25 million, but he's selling it for Bitcoins. And we are seeing this trend. So if we see wider mainstream acceptance from individuals, from corporates, from companies, airlines, whatsoever, then this could be supportive. I mean, these are the factors that will impact the Bitcoin price in the future, and we have to keep a close eye on it. So with FXTM, I mean, as a broker, we will be happy for you to make money, to make a profits. But as price-wise, it is you who decide. I'm trying to help as much as possible with telling you the factors that could be impacting the price. So whether you like this technology or whether you dislike it, the most important thing is to benefit from it, from trading, trying to make a profit. Yes, it's very volatile. It's very risky because the volatility is very high, but you can be a disciplined trader and try to benefit from it. So with us, of course, you can trade the Bitcoin, you can trade the Ethereum and Litecoin. You don't need to own, of course, cryptocurrency. You don't need to have a cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. If you have already purchased Bitcoins, you can hedge, for example, with FXTM. If you own a couple of Bitcoins and you're afraid of prices dropping down, you don't want to sell them out, you can sell them as a CFD. So a CFD contract, it's a contract for difference. It is not the Bitcoin, it's not the asset itself, it's not the Bitcoin itself. It is the derivation of the Bitcoin, and this is the price that you see. So, of course, you can go short. This is what we are discussing, as well as you can go long. You can see that we provide almost the lowest spread in the market. And, of course, it's a leveraged trade, so you can maximize your profits. Also, risk is high, so you should keep a close eye on this. So if we just have a look at where the Bitcoin price is now and what do we think about it, based on the charts. So this is the Bitcoin price. I mean, we have seen today crashing. It went even below $13,000. So this is the chart today. We can see this four down candles, a very huge drop. I mean, if you compare it to where it was last Sunday, when it reached the highest historic level at almost $19,666, it dropped almost 34%. So more than $6,700 dropped from the highest level. This is where the Bitcoin price is now. So probably some of you might be thinking, did we start the crash? I mean, it's not necessarily, because if we look back, let's say even this year we have seen huge drops. So like just last month in November, the price in November. So don't look at the absolute number. Look at percentage wise. In November, we had a 4 days drop of 30%. After that, newcomers started coming in. Some people think, okay, now the price is attractive. Let me start buying. So prices dropped from close to $8,000 to almost $5,500, and then prices started going higher. I mean, we have seen so many drops similar to this. If you look at the charts, let's look even in September this year, the price even dropped from close to 5,000 to 2,972. This is a 40% drop. This is even the biggest drop in percentage terms compared to the last 5 days drop. We have seen these drops also back in 2016. So it's not necessarily the bubble has burst. It could create now, it could send more people now to start seeing this as an opportunity to buy and get in again. This is another example in January. I mean, this is just 3 examples of this year where the prices dropped by 30% and more. So we've seen this kind of price action, and then prices started going up higher. As I said, that technical analysis is all what we can be using for now, because in terms of valuation, we cannot find the value itself. We cannot have a formula to predict the intrinsic value or the fair value of the Bitcoin itself. But for example, if I just see it from, for example, Fibonacci analysis from where it started from the beginning of the year. I mean, this is in January where the prices were below $1,000, and compare it to now. I mean, this is a very nice chart. So from January, from $1,000 almost up to $20,000, the price has corrected by 38.2%. And let's focus on this part over here, which is the 38.2% correction from the start of the year. And probably it can find some support here. If it broke, probably we can see a 50% correction around $10,000. Even if I take some GAN fan analysis and just see how it is functioning, I can also see from the GAN itself. Let me remove for you guys the Fibonacci retracement here. So we almost even touched here a support line. I mean, let's watch this signal. A break below this line could mean if it closed below this line for 1 or 2 days, it could mean a further downside potential. However, it was supported. This means probably we're gonna see another wave higher from current levels. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for today. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being with me. And if you have any questions, please just go ahead. We can have 10 minutes for Q&A. Any question about the cryptocurrency, about anything related to the FX, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So any questions, please just post them here now. I think there should be a lot of questions on cryptocurrencies and what's going on in this part of the world. All right, so just let me open the questions, guys. Hold on a second. All right, so let me start with Anthony. Anthony asked me, why must I trade Bitcoin? I think this was at the beginning of the presentation. I think I answered this. Is crypto close to Ponzi schemes? No, Anthony, it is not a Ponzi scheme. Probably some Ponzi schemers can create a Ponzi out of the Bitcoin, but it's not the blockchain itself. It's not the Bitcoin itself. It's not the technology itself. But as I told you, some people are trying to create a Ponzi scheme, especially through what we call the ICO, the initial coin offering. People are trying to So an ICO is similar to what we call the IPO, the initial public offering. So when I have a company and I want to make it go public, I do raise money through cash. Same thing is going with the cryptocurrencies. Companies are trying to be creative. They are raising, instead of cash, cryptocurrencies, whether it is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and after that they go bust. There's no company, there's nothing. They take this Bitcoin, and this is, yes, it could be a Ponzi scheme. So how can I buy and sell Ripple? As I told you, there's so many exchanges. At the beginning of the presentation, we explained that, where you can buy and sell the Ripples. For now, we don't trade Ripples at FXTM. We have the Bitcoin, Litecoin, and the Ethereum. Oh, Charles, I'm sorry about the echo. I don't know what was going here. What organizations create Bitcoin? There is no organization that create Bitcoin. It is the miners that create Bitcoins. And this is what we also explained in this presentation. So Satoshi Nakamoto, of course, he was the founder. We don't know if he's a person or he is a person or organization or a group of people, but now the system itself, it is what creates the Bitcoin. And as we mentioned, the 21 million limit will be the maximum. What crypto are you offering? I answered this question. It was the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. What is Bitcoin mining? Okay, I think we have to keep this question. I tried to explain it briefly, but it could be, I mean, we can have a special webinar for Bitcoin mining. Can I have it on my MT4 account? Yes, and I please want you to check with the sales representative team to answer this question. What is your take on the future of Ethereum? Ethereum is similar technology to what we're seeing in the Bitcoin. It's trying to be used for different purposes. However, I call Ethereum, I try to compare it as simple as gold to silver is Bitcoin to Ethereum. So they are so much connected. If you put the two charts together, you can see them moving together. So I think the future of Ethereum will be close to the future of the Bitcoin itself. So where do cryptocurrencies get their values from? It is, as I said, it's not the valuation. We don't have intrinsic value. It is taking the value from the trust of the people, and through the exchanges, as we say, it's supply and demand. As simple as that. There's more supply, the price go high. There's more demand, more demand, the price goes high. The more supply, price goes lower. Does it mean mining is from the ground or electric? Of course, mining is not from the ground. This is mining from the ground is for gold. Mining for Bitcoin is through the network technology system. Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions on the mining before. How does it get mined? Okay. So here, Daniel, I already have a real MT4 account. I also want to trade Bitcoin in my account, so I can use indicators for price speculation. Okay, because FXTM, they do provide different accounts. The only standard account you can trade Bitcoin through. So please go back to your sales representative, and he will help you open an account. Is Genesis mining legit? I think yes, Genesis, they are one of the many miners now available in the market. Can I trade Bitcoin with a lot of size of 0.01? So far it is 0.1. I think there were talks that they will reduce it to 0.01. Also follow up with the sales representative. They will help you with this question. What is the leverage on the Bitcoin? So the leverage on the Bitcoin, I don't have all the details on this. Probably the sales guys can help you, but it is now 1 to 3. And I've also heard that they will increase it to 1 to 10 for the leverage for the Bitcoin. So can you please compare buying real Bitcoin as opposed to CFD? So similar to when you buy, for example, gold as a CFD, it is a contract for difference. So you are just betting, or you are just speculating on the price, not the real asset itself. So when you trade gold as a CFD, you are expecting, for example, if you buy gold, you're expecting the price to go higher. So you buy a CFD, you don't have the physical real asset itself, but you're just speculating on the price. And similarly, this is how Bitcoins are being traded as a CFD. You don't own the asset, you are speculating on the price itself. So what about the just launched Bitcoin on futures? Is bubble? When do you see it coming? I think I discussed all about the bubbles. The Bitcoin future is taking it more mainstream. It could also mean that price volatility can become lower because of being launched in the futures, the CMEs, and probably Nasdaq in the future. This can help reduce the price volatility, and it is very important to monitor what's going on there. If we see asset managers and hedge funds started shorting big bitcoins, it could mean that prices can go much lower from here. To be honest, I'm not very familiar with the system for trading. Also, your representative can help you at FXTM. Bitcoin is down. What's prediction? I think this is very hard to say. I just told you what do I think from a technical perspective. We are close to very important support levels. We can see a break higher from here, but if it broke below, we can see price also moving significantly down. Do you personally offer a free analysis and entry signals? So far, we do not do that. Not personally and not as a company, but we do write about what do we think about what's going on. Is there real demand for bitcoins, or is just a group of people buying to resell? I mean, this is a very important question. I think we are seeing so many people buying to make a profit out of it, and that's why we can see this kind of big movement in the price. Otherwise, we don't see in one day a drop of 20 or 30%. So there's so many speculation now going into this market, but still there are so many people who believe in this technology and would like to continue moving with it. And that's it from Financial Bitcoin is finite, as we can't have more than 21 million, it's not 2 million. So listen, yes, it is finite. The supply is limited, but as we mentioned, now there's so many other cryptocurrencies in the world. We can see also some forks from the Bitcoin. That's why we have the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, probably some other fork going on in the future, and this could be creating risks to the 21 million. Yes, I got you. So it is not just about the supply. This was a very important element that supported the price by much, because now we only have 16 million. There's only 5 billion, I mean, to be mined, or less than 5 million until 2040, and this was helping the price. But at the end, if in a couple of years nobody is accepting Bitcoin payment, then it is useless, even if it is 1 million or 100,000. If more adoption, then this could mean something important to have 21 million about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and hopefully we'll see you in other presentations and webinars very soon. Thank you.